How's it going, everybody? Thank you all very much. I always appreciate you hanging out with me for a little while. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to another classic movie review. This is my review of a classic sequel to one of the greatest 1980s action thrillers, 1982's First Blood. My review of Rambo First Blood Part 2. Released in 1985 from director George P. Cosmatos, who directed movies like Escape to Athena, also directed Cobra, Leviathan, Tombstone. Once again, you got Sylvester Stallone coming back as Vietnam veteran John Rambo. Here at the beginning of the film, this picks up 5 years later after the events of the first film, where Rambo had a little run-in with some small-town sheriffs. A bit of a disagreement happened, a little bit of a scuffle. And so for the consequences of the events of the first film, here he is locked up at the very beginning, doing a bit of outdoor work detail, when all of a sudden his Colonel Samuel Troutman, played by the great Richard Crenna from the previous film, shows up to offer Rambo a chance to get out of prison for a little bit and go on a mission, maybe get a presidential pardon if things go well. A very good cast for this movie. You got Julia Nixon as Indigenous Agent Ko Bao. You got Martin Kove from the Karate Kid movies, Kreese, in this movie as well. You also have character actor Charles Napier in this movie. He pops up in movies like The Silence of the Lambs and The Cable Guy and Ernest Goes to Jail. In this movie, he plays the role of Murdoch. You also have the great Steven Berkoff, who played a bad guy back in the day in movies like Fair Game, Beverly Hills Cop, also 1983's 007 film Octopussy. And in this film, he plays another bad guy, a Russian bad guy. And the plot of this movie centers around Rambo going back to the old POW camp in Vietnam that he escaped from, only to go back and take a little reconnaissance photos, take some pictures. But with Rambo being a badass Green Beret, you know he's not just going to take some pictures and call it a night. It's Rambo, for crying out loud. He's going to take some action. He's going to blow some shit up. He's going to shoot somebody. He's going to stick somebody with his big ass knife. And so, of course, the shit hits the fan, as usually does in an action movie. With the first film, you have an action thriller that is a lot more grounded, with Rambo being stateside and having a bit of a misunderstanding with some local sheriffs with an axe to grind. And Rambo on that one shows a lot of restraint using non-lethal methods. But here, the dog is off the leash, baby. He is full-on beast mode in this movie, and it is glorious. It's like when you watch a fish swimming, you know, it's doing what it's meant to do, or when you see a bird in the air, in the sky flying, you know, doing what nature intended. In this movie, it's like you're seeing Rambo do what he's born to do. Throughout this movie, there are some great action scenes as Rambo goes into this POW camp and ends up finding out more than he thought he would find. But all throughout, you got big ass explosions. You got Rambo running around this POW camp with this big ass machine gun with bullets all around him, all draped around him. You got the big ass Rambo knife, that very famous knife, a bow and arrow set with explosive tips. Great to see when they're actually used. You also have some quiet moments, though, some really nice little tender moments with Rambo and his partner, Indigenous Agent Ko Bao. In many ways, the character of John Rambo is a very lonely guy and kind of a tragic character, and so it's really nice to see in this movie him having a nice moment and a nice friendship with the character of Ko, played by Julia Nixon in this. I really like their scenes together, particularly when they're on this boat. During their little boat ride, his partner's trying to get to know him a little bit, you know, see what he's all about and what makes him tick. And you know, Rambo isn't much of a conversationalist. You know, he's a man of few words. He's more of a man of action. But I really like how they get to the real core of the character in just a very simple sentence when she says something to him like, you know, it's not so easy to survive. There's still war here. And one of my favorite Stallone Rambo lines, to survive a war, you gotta become war. I know it's not a very good impersonation, but you know, that's my Stallone anyway. But the quiet moments don't last for too long, because before you know it, it's time to shoot some bad guys and blow some shit up. And that's something that Rambo does throughout this movie very well and lays waste to hundreds of bad guys. The kill count in this movie is ridiculous, with Rambo using his various weapons, a lot of hand-to-hand combat, a lot of shoot 'em up and blowing people up, and you know, all the stuff you'd expect in a Rambo film. Now, as much as I love this movie, there are a couple of nitpicks I have, you know, little tiny gripes. That scene where Rambo early in the movie has to jump out of a plane on his way to the mission, he gets caught up and he's hanging, being dragged on the side of the plane. He has his big ass knife, he has to cut away his equipment. I know they probably don't want to make the mission too easy for him, so he has to get rid of some of that stuff, but you know, he's Rambo. He can't just jump out of a plane without a problem. He's a Green Beret. He doesn't know how to clear that shit. I don't know. I always thought that was a bit funny. And my other little gripe is there are some moments in the film in terms of action scenes where you have explosions and gunfire, where the sound design and sound effects just sounds a bit flat and cheap. It's not a big deal, you know, it's maybe something that could have been polished a bit. Maybe it needed more time in post-production to get that stuff right. But either way, it doesn't really hurt the movie all that much because there's a ton that sounds just fine. This is pure escapism. This is a summer popcorn flick. You know, it's not meant to be high art. It's just tons of fun. That first film is an excellent classic. This film is an excellent action adventure, which is just as much as a classic, but it's not in the territory of the first film, unfortunately, but it's still a very worthy sequel. Even though this sequel is a lot heavier on the action, like the first film, this movie still has plenty of heart and a lot of emotion. And even though this isn't the most original idea, since this kind of thing was done before a year prior with 1984's Missing in Action starring Chuck Norris, which pretty much had the same plot, it's still a fun time and a good watch and a great Stallone flick. I give it 3.5 stars. I'm sure you can find this movie on streaming, but you guys know me, I'm a hard copy kind of guy, so I'm gonna have my hard copy right next to me, and there it is. Boom, Rambo, First Blood Part 2, and there he is looking all serious because he's about to lay waste on some bad guys, and oh boy, the kill count. It is mighty, mighty big in this. And I think it only gets bigger as the movies keep going and get a little bit more crazy and crazy with the action. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I always appreciate it. If you're into the classics, if you're into movies, if you're into this kind of thing, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications on more reviews from me coming out very soon. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for all your support. I very much appreciate it. Please don't forget to comment, share, like, always helps out the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Everybody take care of each other. Peace out. Till next time. God bless.